Revolutionary greetings, comrades. It's a red Sunday today. It's the 6th of November 2022. As part of our political education, primarily targeting new members of the Zimbabwe Communist Party and those who want to know more about the Zimbabwe Communist Party, we dedicate this video to you. We know that some comrades find it difficult to read our documents, but when they have access to Wi-Fi, they simply listen to the video. So we're trying to adapt to this new reality and accept that there are some who are not reading, though as communists we encourage comrades to read, but we have others who do not like reading, but they always say, comrades, we like listening to videos as opposed to reading documents. So let's look into the Zimbabwe Communist Party constitution as adopted at its first Congress in 2019. We look into the purpose. What is the purpose of the Zimbabwe Communist Party? This is what we want to explain. It says the purpose of the Zimbabwe Communist Party is to build in Zimbabwe a Marxist-Leninist vanguard party of the working class and peasantry, and to lead these two classes together with the stratum of revolutionary intellectuals to capture state power and to build a national democratic economy in Zimbabwe as a transitional stage towards the building of socialism and communism. Close quote. Let me just explain here. When we talk of building a national democratic economy, this is what others will refer as a two-stage theory, in that we are saying the conditions in Zimbabwe currently do not allow us to transit to socialism. We are a country that is runs more informal economy as opposed to productive economy. We're a country where the class consciousness of the workers is not raised at this particular point, and even that of the peasantry. So if we transit to socialism, it would be like us commanding society to transit to socialism, which it is going to be a disaster. But we know that which will continue engaging on, that there are comrades who have problems with our view of a national democratic economy. We think that during the transitional phase, as we build the national democratic economy, other comrades argue that we will, that they are arguing that a new class will emerge that will be leading in the national democratic economy, just like we have seen in countries like South Africa, Zimbabwe, elsewhere, where the national liberation movement took over. In Zimbabwe, we call indigenization. In South Africa, BEE. So there are those concerns, but we continue to engage. But the point that we are making is that we cannot, at this stage, transit to socialism if the class consciousness of workers is not raised. That is to say, if workers are not educated to understand their role at the workplace, they should, if they don't understand their role in production, otherwise it is going to be a disaster. If we simply transit, and once you command is no longer scientific, once it is unscientific but just a command and understood by the few in the leadership, you will have the political elite, so to speak, imposing its views to society to say, let's transit to socialism, force everyone along who doesn't, everyone along, even if society does not understand what we actually mean by socialism and what is expected of all of us in a socialist economy. And in our view, this will lead to disaster. This is why we are saying what is key at this stage is to build a national democratic economy. As we build the national democratic economy, it is a transitional phase to socialism, and it is the party that must take the lead in the building of a national democratic economy. 2.1 says, I quote, as revolutionary nationalists, we understand the importance of national unity, regardless of ethnic origin, but mindful of the diversity of the Zimbabwean people. Revolutionary nationalism linked to devolution of power creates an ideological balance and a driving force for building the national economy and for uniting the country against either economic or military aggression. Again, just to explain here, the comrades from the restoration movement, those that want to restore Mtwaga's state, they always accuse us from Matebeleland. I come from Matebeleland. So when you're in Matebeleland, there is this talk of Mtwaga's restoration, and then you are simply accused of being nationalists, and they will be saying, Dr. Joshua Mqabu was a nationalist. He learned the hard way that if you are from Matebeleland, you cannot lead. You must. He should have followed the advice of Chief Kaisa Ndiweni, who proposed something like what the Inkatha Freedom Party was proposing in 1993-1994, a federal system of a governance. So there are many in Zimbabwe who hold the view that only a federal system will deliver a better Zimbabwe, as opposed to devolution of power, as opposed to the current setup that we have. So a communist or a member of the Zimbabwe Communist Party is a revolutionary nationalist. We have always explained that, as stated here, that we understand the importance of national unity, irregardless of ethnic origin. Meaning to say, when we recruit members into the Zimbabwe Communist Party, we recruit members based on their understanding of the struggle of the workers and the peasantry. It does not matter what language they speak. It does not matter their origin. What matters is they understand the struggle of the workers and the peasantry. When we elect in our congresses, as we elected in our first congress, we do not elect comrades on the basis of where they are from geographically or based on their ethnic origins. We elect comrades based on the understanding of the party, but more so, we elect comrades based on their understanding and commitment to the class struggle. That's it. Nothing less and nothing beyond that. So it does not matter where you are from, your origins, as long as you understand the class struggle, not only understanding but committed in pursuing this struggle which we are engaged in, you get elected into the structures of the party. So we are revolutionary nationalists in that we are the Zimbabwe Communist Party. Yes, we wish that would collapse all these colonial borders, but the reality at this stage is that we are Zimbabweans and we are a communist party in Zimbabwe, And our task is to build the national economy in Zimbabwe. Yes, we're engaged in international strike because our strike is international. But first and foremost, we have the task to mobilize inside Zimbabwe other comrades, the ZCP, CPS, and other communist parties, the Kenyan Communist Party and others. They also recruit inside their countries. Then we link our struggles as communists in this struggle against capitalism global. That's what we are, revolutionary nationalists. So a communist or a comrade that joins the Zimbabwe Communist Party must not be regional in their thinking. I know some comrades in Manicaland would say, no, we want to be on our own in Manicaland. Our language, the Ndawi, is dying. We need to safeguard the Ndawi language, that it should not disappear. But a member of the Zimbabwe Communist Party clearly understands that while we might be coming from different regions in the country, we're a diverse society, we all agree. We might have different challenges based on our own localities, but we are all victims of the capitalist system in Zimbabwe, which we must dismantle. So if you join the Zimbabwe Communist Party, I've heard others saying, no, Mabena, we must create him talk as a Communist Party. That's not it. If you join the Zimbabwe Communist Party, one thing that you do, the first thing that you do, is to respect every comrade in the party, irrespective of their ethnic origin. When we established the Zimbabwe Communist Party in 2017, some comrade mistook it as because the GS is from Matebele, and mistook it as a Matebelean thing. They began to attack comrades from Mashonaland, and we said we will not tolerate this, and we removed them, because that's not the purpose of the Zimbabwe Communist Party. 2.12 says, as Pan-Africanists, we see ourselves as part of the movement which will bring economic liberation to the whole of Africa. As communists, we see that liberation in class terms is centered around the interests of the working class and peasantry. This is why in this channel we also discuss issues in Africa, in the rest of Africa, because we have to have a deeper understanding on what is happening in different African countries. Then we give the comrades solidarity. We can't give solidarity to the comrades in Western Sahara if we do not understand their challenges. Why Morocco occupied Western Sahara. If we do not understand those basics, we cannot be able to offer solidarity. So as Pan-Africanists, we see ourselves as part of the movement which bring economic liberation to the whole of Africa. And this is why, as the Zimbabwe Communist Party, we want to contribute in the building of Africa Left and build a better society in Africa. 2.1.3 says, as proletarian internationalists, we see ourselves as the Zimbabwean contingent of the world movement fighting for the global revolutionary transition from capitalism at its imperialist stage to socialism. We always tell comrades, former Liberation War veterans that they were all trained by communists, international communists, be these former ZCP cadres or ZALA cadres. They were trained, armed by international communists, and we represent this worldwide movement of communists in Zimbabwe as the Zimbabwe Communist Party. 2.2, the ZCP will pursue its goals by means of educating, organizing, and mobilizing the working class, peasants, and all progressive sections of society in support of our party and its objectives of advancing the national democratic revolution through the building of production-driven national democratic economy. This is why we pay attention to political education. We have set various platforms for political education, and we are also assisted by comrades in South Africa, Comrade Dominic, through the Communist University, where all of us join so that we deepen our understanding of the theory, and we are able to analyze from a class perspective the challenges that we are confronted with, particularly the war in Eastern Europe, where Ukraine is the battleground of an imperialist war. 2.3, the vanguard role of the party can not be achieved through proclamation, but only through collective organization and individual hard work. Only through this means can the ZCP earn the recognition of the working class and the working people as a whole as their vanguard party. So it is not only about theory. A communist must combine theory and practice. It is useless in our view for a comrade to be armed with theory but cannot put it into practice. Because if you can't put it into practice, you cannot organize anyone in society. And we always say communists must have capacity to influence 1,000 people at the very least in society. So it is key that we must be armed with theory. And the reason of us being armed with theory is for us then to organize, because now we are clear. We have the theory that guides us in terms of organizing society. We do not just organize. This is why we have a candidate class, that before we accept a comrade as a member of the Zimbabwe Communist Party, must at least have this understanding, basic understanding on what is the purpose of the Zimbabwe Communist Party. Because you can't just be where our colors have our membership card and proudly say, I'm a member of the Zimbabwe Communist Party, but you do not understand its purpose. This is why we have to clearly define the purpose of the Zimbabwe Communist Party in our party constitution. So when we do induction of new members, the first document that is availed to them is the Zimbabwe Communist Party constitution. The second document is the Communist Manifesto. The third document is the party program, because you need to understand what the Zimbabwe Communist Party stands for, particularly its purpose, its ideology. You need to understand the Communist Manifesto. We are engaged in an international class struggle. You need to understand, which the Communist Manifesto will say it's our Bible, must understand what the Communist Manifesto says about the class struggle, the relationship of workers with the bourgeoisie, workers or proletariat with the, the communists. We need to have this basic understanding. Then, of course, you cannot organize society if you do not understand the program of the Zimbabwe Communist Party, completing the liberation of Zimbabwe, which we have discussed in this YouTube channel, and the videos are there. You can Google and check the videos. but we'll again revisit that discussion. Point 2.3, as I draw closer to conclusion, the vanguard role of the party cannot be achieved through proclamation, but only through collective organization and individual hard work. Only through this means can the ZCP earn the recognition of the working class and the working people as a whole as their vanguard party. George Slovo speaks to this in one of his essays, that as communists we do not climb on a hilltop and proclaim that we are communists. A communist must work in communities. And the people will then say, we want you to be a candidate. Then I would say, I'm a communist. And the people will say, whether you are a communist, you are not a communist, we want you to be our representative. So we do not go to communities proclaiming to be communists. We are part of communities. We work in communities to find a solution to problems that people are faced with. For instance, in South Africa, because some of us are in South Africa, and the working class from Zimbabwe is in South Africa. This is why we took a decision that we must lead in the documentation project. Something that we started years back in 2002, before even the party was formed. Because the other thing, you do not have to belong to a communist party for you to be a communist. But a good communist must belong to the party. We'll discuss this later on. So we took it upon ourselves to say we must lead in the documentation project, because these are Zimbabwean workers that are in South Africa. It is communists that should lead in ensuring that our cities in Zimbabwe are clean. We expect that the communists should lead the cleaning campaign in Harare. Now, the rich are building malls, shopping malls outside the city center. They are no longer getting into the city center in Harare. Harare is now dirty. Over 20 years or so, people cannot drink water from their taps. It is communists that should lead in that campaign to ensure that the city of Harare, the city of Bulawayo, the city of Gweru, Hillbrow, Tare is clean. The other day I was walking in Hillbrow and I was saying, but how can this place be so dirty? It is us communists that must lead in the cleaning campaign, because we want a safe environment. So it's not only about being armed with the theory, it's about the practical work. When we clean our cities, when we clean our communities as communists, we are not cleaning, we are not getting these communities to clean the cities and simply say, no, we're here as communists. We are part of society and we want to live in clean environments. So we don't make the proclamation that we are communists. Then people will say, these ones that were red with the hammer and sickle, which we'll discuss in the next video, the symbol and flag, we wanted them to lead us because they take initiatives in communities. This is what a communist must do. We will, of course, later on again discuss what is a good communist. The last point, before we conclude, on the purpose of the Zimbabwe Communist Party says, the ultimate aim of the Zimbabwe Communist Party is the building of a communist society in which all forms of exploitation of person by person will have ended. In Zimbabwe, this will require the establishment of national democratic economy as a transitional stage and the building of socialism as the next stage as we move towards the creation of a stable, prosperous, and a classless communist society. That's the end. So our ultimate goal as communists is to build a classless society where there will be no oppression or exploitation of man by man or woman by woman, to put it in that context. We want to create a classless society as communists, worldwide as communists. But in our case in Zimbabwe, the first stage is to build the national democratic economy, to focus on production. I've already said that our economy is informal. We need to put production first. And when we're analyzing the difference in the economy of China and in the economy of the United States of America, is that in China, they are putting more focus on production. In the United States, it is about making money. We have argued that while I'm a soccer fan, I do not do sports betting. I know comrades, it's a weekend, comrades do sports betting. They live by that. Some people, they live by that in society. That is not productive work. Tata Machans, Lotto, people do many things to make money, right? We can only build our economies through production, and we make money through production. So we will discuss all these issues, but we thought it's important that we understand the purpose of the Zimbabwe Communist Party. So if a person in your community, at the workplace, in your school, asking you what is the purpose of the Zimbabwe Communist Party, you now understand what the purpose is. But you can again read at your own time the Zimbabwe Communist Party Constitution for you to have a better understanding. Please write your comments in the comment section. Please like the video. Let's circulate this video to many comrades, and please do subscribe to this YouTube channel. Otherwise, Amandla Comrade. It's a Red Sunday, as I said. Goodbye.